Hello and welcome. Namaskaram. Stand with her. A campaign by the Telangana Police of men standing with women. అంటే మనం అంటూ ఉంటాం అనమాట, చాలా అకేషన్స్లో అత్యాచారం జరిగింది, ఇలాంటి ఘటన జరిగిపోయింది, అట్లాంటివి చాలా న్యూస్లో వింటూ ఉంటాము. కానీ మన ఎవ్రీడే బిహేవియర్లో అది ఎట్లా రిఫ్లెక్ట్ అవుతుంది, మనం ఎట్లా ఇలాంటి బిహేవియర్ చేంజెస్ తీసుకొని రావచ్చు, దీంతో సొసైటీ చేంజ్ అవుతుంది, యాటిట్యూడ్స్ చేంజ్ అవుతుంది అన్నది పెద్ద విషయం అనమాట. ఇవాళ దీని గురించి మాట్లాడడానికి మనతో పాటు చారు సిన్హా గారు ఉన్నారు. డీజీసీఐడి విమెన్ సేఫ్టీ వింగ్ హెడ్ చేస్తారు, ఏసీబీ కూడా తను హెడ్ అనమాట. మనతో పాటు శేఖర్ కమల గారు ఉన్నారు, రాహుల్ రవీంద్రన్ గారు ఉన్నారు, రిచా మిశ్రా ఉన్నారు. శేఖర్ కమల గారు ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ అస్ నో ఫిల్మ్ మేకర్, సమ్మన్ హూ ఇస్ తన ఫిల్మ్స్లో విమెన్ క్యారెక్టర్స్ పవర్ఫుల్గా చాలా రౌండెడ్ క్యారెక్టర్స్గా ఉంటాయి. రాహుల్ రవీంద్రన్ గారు అగైన్ సమ్మన్ హూ స్టాండ్స్ బై హర్ అన్నది అనాలి, అంటే ఇంట్లో కూడా అంతే అనమాట. చిన్మయి గారు హస్బెండ్, అండ్ తను ఎంత పెద్ద ఒక వాయిస్ ఫార్ విమెన్గా ఎప్పుడు స్టాండ్ చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. అండ్ తనతో పాటు రాహుల్ గారు కూడా ఇన్ ఆల్ హిజ్ అడ్వకేసీ ఫిల్మ్స్ ఎలాంటి విషయాలు చెప్తూ ఉంటారంటే అదే మన క్యాంపెయిన్ థీమ్స్ కూడా అనమాట. రిచా మిశ్రా గారు వెరీ సీనియర్ జర్నలిస్ట్, సమ్మన్ హూస్ కవర్డ్ బిజినెస్ వెరీ వెరీ ఎలాబరేట్లీ, అండ్ సమ్మన్ హూస్ ఆల్సో ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ దిస్ అనమాట. తన వర్క్ స్పేసెస్లో కానివ్వండి, రిపోర్టింగ్లో కానివ్వండి, ఎందుకంటే పోలీస్ ఫోర్సు, జర్నలిజం ఇట్లాంటి ఫీల్డ్స్లో, సినిమా కూడా అట్లానే విమెను మెన్ షోల్డర్ టు షోల్డర్ ఉంటామని చెప్తాము. కానీ ఆ ఫిజికల్ స్పేసెస్ గురించి ఫస్ట్ మనం ప్యానెల్ డిస్కషన్ ఇవాళ ఫిజికల్ స్పేస్ గురించి అనమాట. అంటే పురుషులు ఎట్లా ఒక ఫిజికల్ స్పేస్ను ఆక్యుపై చేస్తారు, వాళ్ళు నించుంటున్నప్పుడు, లేకపోతే చూస్తున్నప్పుడు స్టేర్ అంటాము, లేకపోతే లుక్ అంటాము, లేకపోతే ఏదో ఒక మాట, నేను చాలా ఇన్నసెంట్గానే చెప్పాను, చాలా కాంప్లిమెంట్ ఇవ్వడానికి కోసం మీకు చెప్పాను అంటారు. కానీ దాంతో విమెను అన్కంఫర్టబుల్గా ఫీల్ అవ్వడము, లేకపోతే అన్సేఫ్గా ఫీల్ అవ్వడము, అక్కడ ఈయన ముందు మనం రాకపోతే బాగుండేనేమో, ఇలాంటి డ్రెస్సు వేసుకుంటే బాగా ఉండదేమో ఈయన ముందు, అట్లాంటి ఫీలింగ్స్ వచ్చేలాగా ఎలాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్స్ ఉంటాయి దాని గురించి ఇవాళ మాట్లాడదాము. కానీ దాని ముందు చారు గారు, ఈ క్యాంపెయిన్ మీరు మొదలుపెట్టారు అంటే పోలీస్ ఫోర్సు చాలా మటుకు మనము ఇట్లా జరిగిపోయింది, చాలా సీరియస్ ఇన్సిడెంట్స్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంటాము. కానీ ఎవ్రీడే అకరెన్సెస్లో చిన్న చిన్న విషయాలు ఉంటాయి. బస్సులో వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు ఇట్లా బ్రష్ చేసి వెళ్ళిపోతారు, ఒకసారి ఎల్బో ఇట్లా ఉంటుంది, అరే క్రౌడెడ్ స్పేస్ కదా అంటే అప్నే గాడి మే ఆనా థా నా, ఐసా క్యూ అప్నా విఐపీ క్యూ దిఖా రే హో, నేను అట్లానే వెళ్తున్నాను అంటారు. అంటే మీరు ఈ క్యాంపెయిన్ స్టార్ట్ చేసింది ఇలాంటి ఇష్యూస్ని హైలైట్ కాన్వర్జేషన్ కోసం చేశారు. అంటే అందరు వీళ్ళు చెడ్డవాళ్ళు, వాళ్ళు మంచి వాళ్ళు అని ఏం కాదు లైఫ్లో, ఇట్స్ నాట్ లైక్ దట్, బ్లాక్ అండ్ వైట్ ఏం ఉండదు. కానీ కొన్ని విషయాలు మనం చేస్తుండగా అది ఎట్లా ఇంటర్ప్రెట్ అవుతాయి, విమెన్ ఎట్లా అన్సేఫ్గా ఫీల్ అవుతారు, దాని గురించి మీరు చెప్పండి. ఎందుకు ఈ క్యాంపెయిన్ స్టార్ట్ చేశారు, ఎట్లా వెళ్తుంది?
సో సేఫ్ మొబిలిటీ ఇనిషియేటివ్ అని విమెన్ సేఫ్టీ వింగ్ స్టార్ట్ చేయడం జరిగింది. దేనికోసము? అగైన్ మిస్బిహేవియర్ ఇన్ బస్సెస్, పర్టిక్యులర్లీ గ్రోపింగ్, ఫ్లాషింగ్, ఇవి అన్ని గురించి మాట్లాడుకోవడానికి. కానీ దాంట్లో మనం ఒక రిపోర్టింగ్ మెకానిజం క్రియేట్ చేసిన తర్వాత సడన్లీ ఐ వాజ్ సర్ప్రైజ్ టు సీ దట్ ఎక్కువ కంప్లైంట్స్ రావటం లేదు. ఎందుకు కంప్లైంట్స్ రావటం లేదు అని అడగడం మొదలు చేస్తే ద గర్ల్ స్టార్టెడ్ సేయింగ్, మేడం మిస్బిహేవ్ చేశారు కానీ ఎక్కువ చేయలేదు. సో ఐ వాజ్ అలార్మ్డ్ బికాజ్ నేనేం రియలైజ్ చేశానంటే మనం ఈ మిస్బిహేవియర్స్ని నార్మలైజ్ చేస్తున్నాము, అండ్ ఈ నార్మలైజేషన్ వాజ్ ద ట్రిగర్ పాయింట్ ఫర్ దిస్ క్యాంపెయిన్. సో వీ స్టార్టెడ్ థింకింగ్,
చూస్తే నేను కంప్లైంట్ చేయొచ్చు, ఆయన ఇట్లా నన్ను చూస్తూనే ఉన్నాడు, లేకపోతే ఇట్లా
లేకపోతే టచ్ చేశారు, బట్ సరే ఇది రోజు జరుగుతుంది కదా, నేను ఈ రోజు కంప్లైంట్ చేస్తాను, మరి కంప్లైంట్ చేయాలా, ఇంకొక అబ్బాయి గురించి మరి థర్డ్ డే మరి కంప్లైంట్ చేయాలా, సో ఎన్నిసార్లు కంప్లైంట్
అయిపోతారు అన్న భయం కూడా ఉంది విమెన్ కి.
ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇప్పుడు ఒక కంపెనీలో ఒక అమ్మాయి పనిచేస్తుందంటే అండ్ అక్కడ షీఈస్ బీయింగ్ హ్యారెస్డ్ బై లెట్ us say her boss. Now ఇంటర్నల్ కంప్లైంట్ కమిటీ అక్కడ కాన్స్టిట్యూట్ చేయడం జరిగింది, కానీ ఇంటర్నల్ కంప్లైంట్ కమిటీ ఈజ్ అండర్ ద బాస్. సో కెన్ షీ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ జస్టిస్ దేర్? దెన్ రీసెంట్గా పాష్ కమిటీ ఫామ్ చేయడం జరిగింది, దాంట్లో కంప్లైంట్స్ చాలా వస్తున్నాయి విమెన్ సేఫ్టీ వింగ్లో, అండ్ వెరీ ట్రికీ అండ్ వెరీ కాంప్లికేటెడ్ కంప్లైంట్స్. అండ్ ఆల్ దిస్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్ షోడ్ దట్ చాలా వరకు ఈ మిస్బిహేవియర్స్ ఇన్ డిఫరెంట్ మల్టీ స్పేసెస్ నార్మలైజ్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. That's why we started the Stand With Her campaign. E-Rose, the theme is particularly about public spaces which are shared spaces. It is for both men and women. And the presence, behavior and sexual harassment by men in public is the theme for today. So, to men, I would say that your presence is a choice. You have to make it safe for the women around you, everywhere. This theme does not focus on typical crimes. We are not talking about child sexual abuse, we are not talking about rape, we are not talking about very obvious crimes under the law. మనం దేని గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాము? స్టేరింగ్ కంటిన్యూస్లీ. ఒక లేడీ జస్ట్ టాప్ టు బాటమ్ స్టేరింగ్ ఎట్ హర్ ఆర్ జస్ట్ స్టేరింగ్ ఎట్ హర్ చెస్ట్, మేకింగ్ హర్ ఫీల్ అన్కంఫర్టబుల్. ఎక్కువ క్రౌడింగ్ చేయడము, అమ్మాయికి ఎక్కువ స్పేస్ ఇవ్వడం లేదు, సో షీ కెన్ పాస్ త్రూ. కమెంటింగ్ చేయడము. హౌ డూ యూ పొజిషన్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్? ఒక లిఫ్ట్లో, ఎలివేటర్లో వెళ్తున్నారు, హౌ డూ యూ పొజిషన్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్? అండ్ దెన్ ద వాల్యూమ్ దట్ యూ ఆక్యుపై ఇన్ అ స్పేస్ వేర్ ద వుమన్ సేస్, ఓకే నేను ఇటువైపు వెళ్ళను, నేను వేరే దారి చూసుకుంటానని. సో డూ మెన్ థింక్ that how my presence, my way of looking and my behavior, does it create a safe space for women? Do men think like that? That is what we need to explore today. Now, we are talking about public spaces like streets, buses, college campuses gurinchi, markets gurinchi, park lo, we are talking about those kind of public spaces. They belong to everyone. బట్ కానీ విమెన్ ఈ స్పేసెస్లో మూవ్ చేసే టైంలో సేఫ్టీ క్యాల్కులేషన్స్ చాలా చేస్తారు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఈ రూట్ సేఫ్ ఉందా లేదా, ఈ 7 PM తర్వాత సేఫ్ ఉందా లేదా, నేను ఈరోజు నేను ఏదైనా షాపింగ్ కంప్లీట్ చేయాలంటే నేను డే టైంలో కంప్లీట్ చేయవచ్చా, లేకపోతే నేను రాత్రి కంప్లీట్ చేయాలా లేదా, సమ్వన్ ఫాలోయింగ్ మీ, షుడ్ ఐ చేంజ్ మై సీట్ ఇన్ ద బస్ బికాజ్ నేను ఈ సీట్లో ఉన్నాను, ఒక మనిషి ఇక్కడ నిలబడి హీఈస్ రియలీ పుషింగ్ అగేన్స్ట్ మీ, ఐఎమ్ అన్కంఫర్టబుల్, నేను సీట్ మార్చాలా లేదా, నేను రోడ్ క్రాస్ చేసి అటువైపు వెళ్ళాలా లేదా, ఎందుకంటే అక్కడ గుంపుగా ఒక 5-10 మంది నిలబడి ఉన్నారు. Men don't have to think this way. They don't
Even
have to
in
make...
a temple you have to think. Sometimes
Yes.
the sanctum sanctorum, you are just
Absolutely.
crushed together and you think,
Absolutely.
ఇంత అవసరమా అసలు వెళ్ళడము గుడికి
Absolutely.
అనుకుంటాం.
So men don't have to make these safety calculations primarily. So today we want to ask, how do men's behaviors, everyday behaviors, shape these experiences for women, and what can men do so that the fear factor in women gets reduced and ee safety calculations avsaram undakudadu. Instead of men saying, oh, I didn't do anything, I didn't touch the lady, I didn't grope her, I didn't do this, but has your presence made her feel uncomfortable? That is what men need to ask. Now ee topic enduku manaki ee roju avsaramu? One is, as I said, because women perform constant safety calculations. Exit route kuda, ante oka cinema hall lo kuda meer chuste exit route kuda mapping cheyali. Then night show ki how many women come alone for the last show at night? Do they really have to think about their transportation back home? Obviously they have to think about it. And then certain streets, ee veedilo nenu after 8 PM vellakudu because akkada taagi kontamandi eppudaina nilabadtaru. Then as I said, changing routes, changing adjusting your clothes also according to the occasion. This is not phobia.
అది స్ట్రీట్లో మాత్రం కాదు, మనం వర్క్ ప్లేస్కి వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు కూడా, యాజ్ నేను జర్నలిస్ట్గా 30 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి చేస్తున్నాను, ఎక్కడైనా వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు అరే ఇది అప్రోప్రియేట్ డ్రెస్ కాదు కదా, ఇట్లా నేను ట్రౌజర్ వేసుకొని షర్ట్ వేసుకోలేను కదా, చీర వేసుకోవాలేమో, దుప్పట్టా వేసుకోవాలేమో అని అనుకుంటూ ఉంటాం కదా. అంటే ఇది ఒకళ్ళు బ్యాడ్ మెన్ గుడ్ మెన్ అని కాదు, మనం ఈవెన్ ద ఎవ్రీ వన్, అంటే మీరు నేను అందరూ మన ఇంట్లో ఉన్న నాన్నగారు కావచ్చు, తాతగారు కావచ్చు, అండ్ యువర్ బ్రదర్ కూడా కావచ్చు, హస్బెండ్ కావచ్చు, వాళ్ళు ఎట్లాంటి అడ్జస్ట్మెంట్స్ వాళ్ళ బిహేవియర్లో చేస్తే విమెన్కి కూడా అది సేఫ్ స్పేస్గా అనిపిస్తుంది. దాని గురించి మాట్లాడాలి,
అవేర్నెస్ రావాలి. అంటే అందరు మగవాళ్ళు ఇది కావాలని చేస్తారని కాదు, అన్కాన్షియస్ బిహేవియర్స్ కూడా ఉంటాయి కొన్ని. సో ఫర్ విమెన్ దిస్ ఈజ్ లెర్న్డ్ రిస్క్ మేనేజ్మెంట్. రోజు ఎలా నావిగేట్ చేయాలి, అండ్ వాట్ ఈస్ ద కాస్ట్ ఫర్ విమెన్, దేర్ ఫ్రీడమ్, their lack of confidence, mobility restrict అవుతుంది, and public life access, that is one thing which gets really affected. చాలామంది మెన్ న్యూట్రల్ ఫీల్ అవుతారు. దే డోంట్ థింక్ దట్ దే క్యాన్ బీ థ్రెటనింగ్ టు సంబడి. Men don't think that I am a threat to somebody else. They may simply be standing, staring, walking, looking, but దాని ఎఫెక్ట్ విమెన్లో ఎలా ఇంపాక్ట్ అవుతుంది, అది కొంచెం అవేర్నెస్ మెన్లో వస్తే అది బాగుంటుంది. సిమిలర్లీ వెన్ మెన్ ఆర్ టుగెదర్ యాజ్ అ కలెక్టివ్, ఒక గ్రూప్గా ఉంటే వాళ్ళు ఎక్కడ నిలబడుతున్నారు, వాళ్ళు ఏ విధంగా కామెంట్స్ పాస్ చేస్తున్నారు. సపోజింగ్ దే ఆర్ జస్ట్ 5-6 బాయ్స్ స్టాండింగ్ అండ్ జస్ట్ వాచింగ్ విమెన్ పాస్ బై ఆన్ ద రోడ్, నవ్వడం కానీ, కామెంట్స్ పాస్ చేయడం కానీ, ఆర్ లేకపోతే ఒక పాత్వేని బ్లాక్ చేయడం కానీ, దట్ ఈస్ ఆబ్వియస్లీ ఇంటిమిడేటింగ్ ఫర్ విమెన్. ఈవెన్ ఇఫ్ మెన్ ఫీల్ జస్ట్ వీఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ ఫన్, it's not because we wanted to trouble her, but we are having fun.
So it's road side entertainment అనమాట. అక్కడ నుంచొని అట్లా చూడడం.
అవును,
తాక్ నా कहते हैं हिंदी में.
So collective behavior has a collective effect on women. So what are the small choices which men can make? They can give space on a pavement respectfully to a woman. They need not block passages. They can avoid staring in a prolonged way, or staring, at the body top to bottom. And these are small behaviors, but it definitely has an impact. Now, the key definitions today will be the safety calculations that I have already mentioned, and then what we call spatial claiming by men, where men claim physical spaces more aggressively rather than women, and then staring, street harassment, and bystander role. Supposing kontamandi men are indulging in this kind of behavior, వేరే వాళ్ళు ఇది కరెక్ట్ కాదని వాళ్ళకి అనిపిస్తే కూడా, do they speak up or do they remain bystanders? So that is a question which we need to talk about today.
శేఖర్ గారు, you have in your films చాలా ఫిల్మ్స్లో అట్లాంటి క్యారెక్టర్స్, ఇట్లాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్స్ మీరు తీసుకొచ్చారు, వేర్ ద విమెన్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఈస్ పుట్ ఇన్ సచ్ ఎ సిచ్యువేషన్ వేర్ షీ డస్ నాట్ ఫీల్ సేఫ్. ఐ వాంట్ యూ టు టాక్ అబౌట్, బికాస్ యూ ఆల్సో బీన్ ఇన్వాల్వ్డ్ విత్ క్యాంపెయిన్స్. యూ ఆర్ సమ్వన్ హూస్ ఫిల్మ్స్ ఇస్ వాచ్డ్ బై ద నాట్ జస్ట్ ద యూత్, of course they watch in a huge numbers, but audiences take back that message about this is my world అన్నట్టు. రియలిస్టిక్గా ఉంటుంది, రియల్ ఎమోషన్స్ ఉంటాయి, రియల్ సిచ్యువేషన్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఇన్ దీస్ సిచ్యువేషన్స్ చారు గారు అన్నట్టు ఒక బైస్టాండర్ రోల్ కూడా చాలా యాక్చువల్లీ ఇట్ బికమ్స్ వెరీ టాక్సిక్ అనమాట. మీరు ఇఫ్ యూఆర్ సైలెంట్, ఒకళ్ళు ఏదో కామెంట్ చేశారు, అది కాంప్లిమెంట్గా ఇచ్చాను, నీకు ఈ డ్రెస్ బాగుందే అనేస్తారు ఏదో ఒకటి, అట్లా అంటే అదేమో కాంప్లిమెంట్ లాగా. బాకీ వాళ్ళు దానికి రియాక్ట్ కావాలా కాకూడదా అనేదంతా మెసేజింగ్ ఈజ్ ఆల్సో సీన్ త్రూ ఫిల్మ్స్, వెదర్ ఇట్స్ యాక్సెప్టబుల్ నాట్ యాక్సెప్టబుల్.
It's a very interesting topic, and I really agree that women constant calculate చేసుకోవాలి spaces, and then and they have to worry about things, dressing, walking, time, intlo, getting back home iyanni. So I think it's definitely it's been unfair throughout the world civilization or whatever. And now I think correct men have to actually see mama just bhayapadutunna anedi we have to think, definitely think. And especially buses lo, I know my sisters, the bus lo, I think not just my sister, I think any woman I spoke to in my AAD, and I think bus lo oka physical idi encounter lekunda ammayi bayatiki raadane asalu fact anot. There's a lot of people
enclosed space and
సో దీనికి డెఫినెట్గా ఎడ్యుకేటింగ్ మెన్ అండ్ క్రియేటింగ్ అవేర్నెస్, స్ట్రాంగ్ క్యాంపెయిన్ అవేర్నెస్ ఫర్ మెన్ is really required. Coming to movies, we try to address, and movies జనరల్గా హీరోస్ లైక్ మీరు అన్నది మోస్ట్ ప్రివలెంట్ ప్రాబ్లం నైబర్హుడ్స్లో గ్రూప్లో కూర్చొని క్యారమ్స్ ఆడి ఏదో ఒకటి కామెంట్స్ ఆడటము, ఏదో ఒక అది అమ్మాయిలు రియల్లీ దే ఫీల్ రియల్లీ నర్వస్ అబౌట్ దట్ యాక్చువల్లీ. అంటే ఒక మంచి డ్రెస్ వేసుకుని నడుస్తుంటే వాళ్ళు సో అండ్ బట్ అన్ఫార్చునేట్లీ మా హీరోస్ సినిమాలో మేము పెట్టే హీరోలు అందరూ గ్యాంగ్లోనే కూర్చొని కామెంట్లు వేస్తుంటారు. జోక్స్ ఆర్ క్రియేటెడ్ దేర్ బేసికలీ. సో దట్ ఈస్ ఇంటిమిడేటింగ్ అని మనం కొంచెం ఐ థింక్ వీ నీడ్ టు టెల్, అండ్ దెన్ వీ నీడ్ టు టాక్ అబౌట్ ఇట్. అండ్ దెన్ నా సినిమాలో ట్రై జనరలీ I mean, I'm actually consciously చేయలేదు, but I'm going back thinking, like as I sit and here I'm thinking about my movies, and all the time I probably I made guys very nice and very accommodative and very very considerate actually. So మేబీ వీ షుడ్ సెలబ్రేట్ దట్ ఆల్సో. అబ్బాయిలు అరే ఇట్లా ఉంటే బాగుంటుంది అని మనం సెలబ్రేట్ చేసుకోవాలి. నేను ఐఎమ్ నోన్ ఫర్ మై ఉమెన్ క్యారెక్టర్ స్ట్రాంగ్ అని వస్తుంది బయటకి, కానీ అందులో మెన్ ఆల్సో హ్యావ్ గివెన్ ఈక్వల్ స్పేస్.
That is something that we need to appreciate in real life also.
So
When the man is
so that becomes అరే ఇది హీరో రా అని, వీడు హీరో అని సైలెంట్గా. అండ్ దెన్ ఎస్ బై స్టాండర్స్ ఐ థింక్ వీ నీడ్ టు, అంటే మనకు స్ట్రెంగ్త్ ఉండకపోవచ్చు. మీరు అన్నట్టు ఇందాక ద రీజన్ ఐ థింక్ ఉమెన్ ఆర్ నాట్ కంప్లైనింగ్ ఇస్ ద థ్రెట్ కూడా ఉంటుంది మ్యామ్. ఐ థింక్ వన్స్ ఇప్పుడు బస్లో ఎవరైనా ఏదైనా మనం రూల్ పెట్టామంటే ఇమీడియట్గా ఆడిని ఏమైనా అరెస్ట్ చేస్తే వాడు నేను చూసుకుంటానంటే ఇంకా ఆమెకు నైట్ మేర్ ఇంకా యాక్చువల్లీ. పోనీ టచ్ అంటే ఇంట్లో కూడా అంటారు బేసిక్గా, అంటే ఎందుకు పెద్ద మనకు గొడవలని. సో that probably is this system has to create, and the bystanders have to, I think, come into play. So I think మనం వీక్ అవుతే అట్లీస్ట్ మనం I would say that see ఏదైనా అగెయిన్స్ట్ అమ్మాయి ఏదైనా జరుగుతున్నప్పుడు either if we have physical strength we fight, or we at least voice, or at least మైండ్లో ఇంటికి పోయారే నేను చేయను అని ఉండాలన్నమాట. బేసిక్ these three things have to be men.
No,
have
you are
to
right. మీరు అన్నట్టు those heroes who are supportive of such women or in such situation is one thing, but not everyone can be a hero in many senses, and we are not looking for heroism of that sort. Correct. That you go and beat up a bad guy. Sorry. Just that you, when some girl is uncomfortable, you go and ask her, are you comfortable, can I do something for you? Right. Rahul, I would like you to talk about these. I mean, film is only reflecting what is there in society. మన చుట్టూ జరుగుతున్న విషయాలు ఫిల్మ్లో రిఫ్లెక్ట్ అవుతుంది. శేఖర్ గారు is very honest to admit that yes, I'm putting such a social situation where there are probably youth standing around and making these kind of things. But what is the appropriate behavior there for everyone else? I mean, it's not just that in hero character. There are other characters also who laugh along or who are like sidekicks who do the same thing, and in real life also it happens.
Yeah. If I can go off on a slight tangent, often over the last 10-15 years especially, I've had a chance to reflect on why I am a certain way, what my behavior is like, should I be correcting something, and then I also observe behavior around me. నాకు ఒకటి ఏమనిపించిందంటే, I used to think of my childhood. నా మీద ఉన్న ఒక పెద్ద ఇంపాక్ట్ ఏంటంటే, చిన్నప్పుడు ఐ థింక్ ఐ వాజ్ అబౌట్ 6 or 7 years old when we had to shift to Kerala for about 3 years. So we lived in Trivandrum for about 3 years because of my dad's work, and then we came back to Chennai. ఆ 3 yearsలో ఆ 6-7 టైంకి ప్రాపర్గా సినిమాలు చూడటం స్టార్ట్ చేశాను నేను. అప్పటి వరకు కూడా సినిమాలు చూసేవాడిని, కానీ పెద్దగా ఏమీ ఐ డెంట్ రిజిస్టర్ ఎనీథింగ్ రియలీ. అక్కడ కేరళకి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు అమ్మ నాన్న అప్పట్లో ఎక్కువ లైక్ వేరే లాంగ్వేజ్ సినిమాలు చూడడం అనేది చాలా కష్టం. VHSలో కూడా పెద్దగా దొరకదు. మంత్లీ ఒక్కసారి ఒక VCR నాన్న హైర్ చేసుకొని తీసుకొచ్చేవారు. ఒక్కసారి ఆ వీకెండ్ తీసుకొచ్చినప్పుడు వీ వుడ్ హైర్ సమ్ 10-12 VHS tapes. యా సో అప్పట్లో థియేటర్కి వెళ్ళి చూడాలంటే మ్యాక్సిమం మలయాళం సినిమాలే. సో అప్పుడు మలయాళం సినిమాలు చూడడం మొదలుపెట్టాం యాజ్ అ ఫ్యామిలీ. అండ్ మై మదర్ బికేమ్ అ మ్యాసివ్ మమ్మూటీ ఫ్యాన్. సో నేను అమ్మతో కూర్చొని ఎప్పుడు సినిమా చూస్తున్నా సరే, షీ యూస్ టు కీప్ టెలింగ్ మీ, నాట్ ఈవెన్ మీ, షీ యూస్ టు జనరలీ ఎక్స్క్లెయిమ్ ఎవ్రీ మమ్మూటీ ఫిల్మ్. షీ యూస్ టు సే, పా ఈ మనిషి ఎంత డిగ్నిఫైడ్గా అసలు హీరోయిన్స్ని ముట్టుకోకుండా యాక్టింగ్ చేస్తారు, ఎంత డిగ్నిఫైడ్గా హీరోయిన్. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ సేయింగ్ ఎవ్రీ హీరో షుడ్ డూ దట్. ఇఫ్ యూ నీడ్ టు షో ఇంటిమసీ ఆన్ స్క్రీన్, దర్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ రాంగ్ విత్ దట్. దిస్ వాజ్ మై మదర్స్ టేక్. బట్ అట్ సచ్ ఎ యంగ్ ఏజ్, when I look back, it had such a massive impact on me that మా అమ్మ మళ్ళీ సినిమా చూస్తుండగా, మమ్మూటి గారు అసలు ఎంత డిగ్నిఫైడ్, ఎంత డీసెంట్, హీస్ ఎ హీరో అని చెప్పి నాకు అది ఎక్కడో ఐ థింక్ దాట్ రియలీ గాట్ ఇన్, రైట్? అండ్ దాట్ షేప్డ్ హౌ ఐ వాస్ విత్ ద విమెన్ ఇన్ మై లైఫ్. ఫర్ మీ, అమ్మ దృష్టిలో నేను హీరో అవ్వాలంటే నేను అమ్మాయిల్ని ముట్టుకోకుండా రెస్పెక్ట్ చేస్తూ
ఎమ్యులేట్ అండ్ కీప్ ద
ప్రవర్తించాలి అనేది అదొకటి ఎక్కడో బాగా ఉండిపోయింది. And the consequences of that became, I'm saying all this because I can speak in a language that boys understand. I was a boy. I had raging hormones. I had, all these temptations, everything. So I know how they think. Now, I was very lucky. This is pure dumb luck. If I was raised in a very different environment, in a different family, I might have turned out like another, one of those guys that I look at and I say, why do you do this? So this is pure dumb luck. But having had that luck and having had some realizations, I just want to share with them so that maybe they can go home and think. I say this with affection for a lot of these boys. ఇదొకటి ఇంగ్రెయిన్ అయింది నాకు. దీనివల్ల ఏమైందంటే, I started behaving a certain way in school, and in my neighborhood with the women and girls of my age especially. The one thing I realized very, very early on was that because of how I behaved, women took a liking to me.
They felt safe with you.
I realize that now. I didn't realize it back then, but they felt safe with me clearly. And I would very easily make friends with the opposite sex. That started happening quite a bit. And because that happened at a very young age, growing up, they weren't this mystical, enigmatic, species that I don't understand at all, that I don't have any interaction with. They don't remain just objects of sexual desire for me. Because I I became friends with so many women, I understand how they think, I have conversations with them, I realize they're just as human as I am. They feel pain, anger, hunger, love, just like I do. And they become humanized in your mind. Then you become a lot more sensitive to making them feel comfortable around you, right? That happens. That's the next thing that happened. And then you start liking the attention you get from them, right? And as a boy, I love girls, I love women, and when you start getting attention from them, you realize this kind of attention where they like you, they respect you, they feel safe around you, is a lot more gratifying. It makes you feel a lot more good about yourself than the kind of attention అరే వాడు రౌడీరా, అరే వాడు హీరోరా, అదంతా కాదు, ఇది ఇంకా బాగుంది కదా, ఈ హెల్దీ ఫ్రెండ్షిప్స్ ఇది ఇంకా బాగుంది కదా అనేది డెవలప్ అయింది. That had a massive role, right? I think it's a lot to do with luck, but that had a massive role. And I want to tell boys this. Trust me, మీ ఇంట్లో మీకు ఇది చెప్పి పెంచారో లేదో నాకు తెలియదు, కానీ నాకు కరెక్ట్ ఏజ్లో మమ్మూటి గారి సినిమాలు మా అమ్మ చూశారు కాబట్టి ఇది జరిగింది. ఒక్కసారి if you can just smile at them, and in that smile they see that you're not a threat, they can see that they can feel safe around you, and they can see that they can have a conversation with you, open up to you. You will open your life up to the kind of relationships you have no idea how much it will make your life better. Richer, absolutely. It broadens your horizons, it broadens your perspective. You understand like 50% of this world, you understand them better. And then I've also seen boys grow up with me, like when I went to college, for example, or even in my school. I went to a co-ed school, thankfully. And every year there would be some boys who come from a non-co-ed school. Some of them were very sweet and very timid and very introverted around women, right? And that is also okay. And for some of them, you could see that women are these exotic creatures they have no idea of. It's almost like a lion in a jungle or an elephant in a jungle. It's as alien to them as an animal in the jungle. And therefore, and all around them, pop culture and cinema is constantly teaching them to look at them as objects of sexual desire. Constantly. Women are, as it is, you have no interactions with them, so they're alien to you. And then you're growing up watching advertisements and magazines and cinema constantly tell you that they are objects of sexual desire. You're meant to be turned on by them. I've read this fascinating argument that as men, we are programmed by nature to spread our seed as far and wide as possible to propagate the species. Fascinating argument. I don't know how true it is. And therefore, they say that men from birth are constantly looking for sexual partners so that they can propagate the species. If you grow up with that perspective and women are alien to you, just imagine what a heady cocktail that is. It's a dangerous mix. Right?
Rahul, what you said about having these healthy friendships actually helps you identify, even if people are looking for love or partnership in the opposite sex. Absolutely. When you have these healthy partnerships or healthy friendships, you realize what is good for you also. And that's why all these very disastrous relationships that people seem to have won't grow toxic the way it is. Richa, I want you to talk about workspaces as well. You and I have both been journalists, and therefore this is a space that women have cohabited with men. There have been times when in the early years of my career where there would be no women on the night desk on many organizations. Now everywhere women work with men. I have had an experience where you had to physically make pages at that time, and just standing by the your chief sub editor, whoever standing with you, and then he looks at me and he says, "You have very kissable lips." And I didn't know how to react to that. I mean, he's an elderly man, he's my boss, and I don't know what to react to that. I didn't even identify it as sexual harassment, I'm saying. And I continue to work with him, except I think I should not be on his shift. Maybe it's good not to be in his shift. How do you tell men that these are not right things? And I want you to share experiences of workspace, physical spaces in the work.
I'm glad you raised this point, Uma, because it's very, very important. We are talking about the public space, but a lot of these things happen at the workspace. But before that, I must compliment Mr. Mammootty for giving us a gentleman sitting beside us. ఆ తర్వాత ఇంకొక మాటల we have to educate. It has to start at school. It has to start at home. Now, workspace, I was, say in a safe space because I started at the Hindu group. So we have, and I'm still there, 33 odd years. But the organization itself had its inbuilt thing. Having said so, having worked in Delhi, you are in government ministries, you're going on the corridors, you don't have, everyone who is understanding where you're coming from or what are you coming from. You're standing on the road of North Block for hours to get one yes or no from a concerned minister coming down and saying that. It happens there mostly. And there was a time when there were no women restrooms also. Men can answer the nature's call anywhere. No one seems to object. I think they should be fined for that also. But where do a woman go? That's another major aspect. Since we are talking about space, it needs to be spoken about. Now, workspace, there are 4 aspects which I think, it's as basic as the kind of chair you have to sit on. All our office setup is mostly meant for men. It is not meant for women. Certain chairs, when you're draping a sari or certain things, it becomes uncomfortable for you when you are sitting. Your basic thermostat, the AC thermostat, men have a certain level, certain degree of body temperature that they can take. Women cannot. These are basic scientific facts which has to be kept in mind. But these are general debates. Passive aggression is something which most of us face. You and I, particularly, she would have faced. She's a police person. She would have definitely faced. Yes. She wouldn't have realized it then. Yes. And if you turn around and ask the man, "Induku elaga maatlannaru meeru?" No, it was just a joke. Atla ledandi, I didn't mean it like that. Now, if you want to complain about that statement, whom do you complain to? Because it's just a joke. And the worst thing that happens is, more than the voice or sound, it is their eyes, the way they assess you. You are assessed. Women is assessed most of the time. So these are the basic things which start at home. And then the public space. And these then, your bus, your airports. Why are we forgetting airports when you are in queue to get into it? When you are doing your security check, though there also certain things happen. But as far as I want to bring in, I'll take a minute and I want to bring in a personal experience which I have had. And that too in the heart of the capital in Shastri Bhavan. Being a financial journalist, or petrol prices were a big thing that time, and the decision was being taken by the government. And we were standing there outside for 5 of us for hours and hours. And then you go and ask someone, where's the where's the lavatory, where is whatever the term you want to use, where could we go for? Says, if you have so many challenges, why do you come? So should I not work because I have this challenge, because I am a woman and I need a private space? So, these are the things which we have to be very mindful of when we are talking about the space thing. It's not only the push and this thing. And we have to tell the women to talk out. There are 5 Ds which we have to, now today's girls have to take care of. Be direct. Don't be discreet anymore. Talk about it. Many of the times, most of us have not gone back home and spoken to our parents as well, because we don't know whether what has happened to us comes in that category or not, or whether we are qualified for it or not to say.
Families may say don't go to work because that space is not safe enough, and therefore
That's the answer.
That is the kind thing, isn't it? The husband says, "I'm able to provide for you. Why should you go out and work? I
This
have
whole
enough."
concept of provider now has to go, because if they are providing, we are also providing. We are working together. So workspace. It all starts at home. It has to be the mental and orientation has to be done. It has to be spoken about it.
You raised the point of the gaze itself, and like Rahul mentioned, the fact that you're brought up in a particular way, you understand that this is, I mean, most of the time, like Charuji mentioned, it is not very intentional that I want to make her feel uncomfortable, but you don't even know culturally that you are not meant to stare at a particular woman or keep a particular distance. I mean, culturally, every country or culture has different distances that you maintain between people. I want you to talk about that. These distances that we talk about, it's not like you said, you were lucky. Very often, when you ask mothers or sisters, they'll say, "No, my son is not like that." And truly, he may not seem like that to you at home, or it's not that they are trying to protect them. They don't seem like that, and somehow it changes when you go outside.
It's that the gaze that you're talking about. I know what a man's thinking. He is not thinking, I want to make this woman uncomfortable. Most people. I'm not talking about sociopaths and psychopaths.
Even women gaze, even that is wrong.
Yeah. It happens because that's why I made that comparison with an exotic creature in the jungle. Exotic creatures in the jungle that we never get to see. What do we do when we go to a zoo? We just keep staring. Because it's fascinating, it's exciting, it's exotic, right? So when we see a lion in a cage or when we see an elephant in a zoo, what do? We just stand there and stare. That's what a man's doing. Because that woman he's staring at is very exotic for him, right? Because he's not had healthy relationships with the opposite sex, usually. That's the issue. Similarly, I'll also tell you this. I'm so sorry to bring it up again. I intend to cause no trauma. I don't intend to trigger you. But that man, I don't even want to say gentleman, but that man who passed that comment, where said, somebody's lips are very kissable. I know what they're thinking. These are men who either had their first one or two experiences where they've tried to approach a woman, say either romantically or with such interests, and they've either been rebuked, or because we generally are in a very conservative society, right? They've either been rebuked or they've had a traumatizing experience where they've tried to proposition to a woman and they've been shut down. So they don't know how to do it. So that man, I bet, was thinking, I will tell her this, maybe 3-4 days later, she'll come and tell me she wants to kiss me. Maybe what I tell her will turn her on. That's what he's thinking. I know for sure. Now, there is a 10%, 20% sociopathic, psychopathic people who have tendencies where they gain pleasure in making you squirm. Yeah. They gain pleasure in making you uncomfortable. But most men, this is their messed up, ill-advised way of actually propositioning a woman. They think, if I go touch her a certain way, maybe she'll get turned on just like I am turned on by her, and maybe she'll want to sleep with me. That's what he's thinking.
ఒక ట్రై చేస్తున్నారు, ఒక అడుగు ముందు తీసుకుంటున్నారు. If she responds, then he'll take another step.
Yeah, అది ఎలా చేయాలో తెలియక ఇలా చేస్తున్నారు. What we don't realize, luckily, like I said, thanks to Mammootty garu and my mother, I was always a certain way, and after a certain age, I actually sat and thought about it consciously, and I set a rule for myself. I said, it could be a romantic relationship, it could be somebody I have a crush on, or I'm courting somebody, or it could be a girlfriend, or it could be a friend, a neighbor, whoever it is. It could be a romantic or a non-romantic relationship in my life. But when it's with a woman, because of how touchy this topic is for them, the one rule I laid for myself, and I'm saying this so that you boys can also think about it and maybe use it in your own lives, is ఏది ఓకే కాదనేది I will let her take the lead, right? It could be a friend, it could be a girlfriend, whoever it is. If for the first time she suddenly touched my hand or touched my shoulder, then now in our relationship, it's okay for me to do the same with her. If she's come and given me a hug for the first time, then it's okay for me to do the same to her. Right? So let her set the rules, let her lead the way so that I don't make her uncomfortable. It's very simple, very easy to follow. And I'm just saying this so that you boys can also follow it with all the women in your lives, right?
And maybe ask if she's comfortable with it. Sometimes it may happen
sometimes
that she casually
it's
does
awkward.
and then you don't
Sometimes
expect.
It's awkward and difficult to ask. So the safest thing to do is let her lead, you follow. Right? So whatever she's comfortable with, then that means she's comfortable with that. So it's okay. So the first time a woman comes and gives you a hug, it means she's comfortable giving you a hug. So then the next time it's okay for you to initiate a hug, right? And even then, be very, very alert and alive to non-verbal communication cues that she's giving you. It's really not difficult. I always say this. Just like they say a woman knows, I would never know, but they say a woman knows when she's been touched wrong, with the wrong intentions.
Yeah.
We men know it when we're touching them the wrong way. We know it. If a man comes and tells me, I didn't realize that would make a bullshit, you know it, right? So just be more aware, more conscious, and be aware of how she's responding to your touch. These are not very difficult to follow. They're very simple actually. But half the time, men, it's their messed up, twisted ways of actually propositioning to a woman. They think, oh, she might get turned on if I say this or do this. Now, for example, I remember seeing something. And then there are incidents where it's just, there's no justifying it, right? Again, I'm not justifying these men either. But I remember I was on a college excursion. We were all going someplace in a bus. And this was my PG, so we were about 22, 23 maybe. And a classmate of mine, there was this girl standing in the aisle and we were all playing Antakshari, front of the bus versus back of the bus or whatever. And there was this girl standing and singing and all that. And suddenly she bent down to pick up something and she got up. Because of which her top had gone up a little bit and was exposing a very small layer of her back. Yeah, midriff, the backside. And it stayed there and she didn't realize it, okay? And there was another classmate of mine sitting, I was this side of the aisle, he was sitting this side of the aisle, and he spotted it. And I saw him looking at it. He kept staring at it for a bit and she was facing the other way. So he was comfortable doing it because she wasn't looking at him, which is okay as long as you're at least not making her uncomfortable. I don't know if it's okay or not, but you get the point. And then he did something. Suddenly, he threw his phone down, bent down to pick it, and while coming up, he just did this in that area. And I was just standing there and I was like, she's your classmate, she's your friend. It's those moments of when our blood is rushing not upwards here but to the nether regions. It's in those moments if we can control. It's perfectly fine to feel horny, but don't take it out on the other person, right? If you feel horny, if you have a sexual partner, if you have a romantic partner, fantastic, you have an outlet for it. If you don't, go to the restroom and help yourself. I mean, it's not that difficult to control. These little things, question yourself, hang on a second, where am I thinking from? Am I thinking from up here or down there? Am I acting out of character? Most of these men, I'm sure, aren't walking around 24/7. Tomorrow, he'd wake up the next day and probably be really sweet and decent to another woman. Both of this is true. It's a paradox, yes, but both of this is true. So
that learned behavior is what we want, where you say, maybe tell her that this is happening so that you don't feel uncomfortable in that situation either. Shekhar Garu, you speak about, like Rahul said, they could be perfectly decent men. Everyone feels outraged when there's a Disha, there's a Nirbhaya happens, and everyone comes out and does, and they do it with sincere feeling, I'm sure. But where do you translate that into real life small incidents like what he said? I mean, tell somebody, okay, you just need to pull your dress down or something like that. I mean, you can do that small thing in that situation. I mean, these are learned behaviors that men need, isn't it? In our physical spaces where...
I'd rather tell the man not to do that than tell her to pull her dress down. That's the whole freedom we're talking about, right? When I wear a sleeveless and come, or when I wear a toned jeans and come, I am not conscious. Why can't women have the same freedom when they inhabit the world around us? So I'd rather tell the man. At 22, 23, I was just so shocked by what he did that I froze. And this is a classmate that I'm going to be spending the rest of the year sitting in the same classroom with. I didn't say anything there. I remember the Me Too movement happened and I saw all that my wife was going through and all that, and I had a bunch of women call me and tell me all their experiences. Like, do I even know a single woman who's not had at least one minor incident? It was an eye-opener for me. I remember at that point I finally called that girl and told her, listen, this happened. And that day I shut up and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to react because that guy's a friend of mine, he's a classmate, and I was shocked by what he did. That's what happens to many
of us, isn't it? In situations whether you need to, and how do you react in that situation to be able to do the right thing at the right time? I mean, bystander is what you became.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, consciously.
And you know what she told me? She said it's happened 1,500 times to me. It's okay.
And yet it's not okay.
And it was heartbreaking. Imagine a girl saying she's learned to live with it. What the heck? As men, we have a responsibility to not let our women learn to live with it. Surely it can't be that difficult to make the world a little safer for them. I mean, yeah, it's...
Shekhar Garu. These are situations we all see, and I know that you have had campaigns where you have tried to translate that behavior actually. Right. You don't need to go and light that candle, stand there and pose for photographs or post your selfie on the
Yeah,
Insta.
yeah.
You can do better than that.
Used to go to a lot of post Nirbhaya. I mean at a higher level actually talk about not a demonstration, a collective demonstration. A demonstration lo kuda malli itlanti evo chestaremo basically. So I was trying to say individually what your name, like a Suresh, Ramesh or whatever. I used to go to colleges, engineering colleges and junior colleges and all, and say if Nirbhaya happened and you're demonstrating, but what as an individual, what are you doing? Ante just వచ్చేస్తావు మళ్ళీ వచ్చి నువ్వు సెకండ్ షోకి వెళ్తావు మళ్ళీ యూ కామెంట్ ఆన్ యువర్ గర్ల్ ఫ్రెండ్స్ అంతా. So basically, what do you do with your mother? Are you helping her in some kind of cooking, something that she does, or are you helping your sister go abroad or something? And are you fighting for your sister or your friend? Not gossiping, not commenting on dresses and colleges. Iyanni changes cheskunte neeku that is more than a tribute to. I mean, and maybe evarana group lo evarana itlanti comment cheste, cat calling cheste, no అని చెప్పడము, లేకపోతే కామెంట్ చేస్తే ఇమీడియట్గా చూసి చెప్పడము, ఇది చేయండి మీరు, then that will be your self correction basically. So that makes you a hero. And I was doing a lot of campaign, translating it to a smaller things anamata. I mean basically change of mind actually, and that rather than
Respect and dignity.
I mean childhood lo each individual has their own lucky thing, like maybe a sister or maybe a teacher or maybe mammuti or whatever that makes you what you are. But అది లేదు అన్నప్పుడు మనం assume చేసుకోవాలి as a society that okay we are doing something, educating. I think she also said educating about this that lot men don't know half of it actually. నేను అది ఫిల్మ్ సెట్స్లో కూడా రియలైజ్ అయ్యాను. ఐ స్టార్టెడ్ ఫ్రమ్ ఆనంద్ డాలర్ డ్రీమ్స్ డేస్ నుంచి 25 years నుంచి ఫ్రమ్ వేర్ వీ స్టార్టెడ్ అండ్ వాట్ వీఆర్ అని. అప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ ఏడీ యాజ్ ఎ గర్ల్ ఉన్నప్పుడు నేను without any making of I just took her and I realized that it was a big thing. అది లేదు అనమాట. దెన్ caravans for toilets for women, caravans, dress changesకి some spaces, అండ్ దెన్ చాలామంది హండ్రెడ్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్ట్రా వీళ్ళు ఉంటారు అనమాట. అంటే పెరిఫరల్ క్యారెక్టర్స్ అందరూ వస్తారు, వాళ్ళ కిడ్స్ తోటి వస్తుంటారు, వాళ్ళకి అసలు చేంజింగ్ రూమ్స్, టాయిలెట్స్ అసలు ఎక్కడికి వెళ్తారో ఏమో తెలియదు. ఫ్రమ్ దోస్ డేస్ నౌ slowly we're questioning basically, and in production also, film making side, storytelling lo okoti, I mean that is one thing, and production lo one thing. So I think there are a lot of rights that we speak about, but I think we can those kind of things can be policed also. అంటే వెళ్ళి చూడొచ్చు, అంటే ఏమవుతుంది, అమ్మాయిలు ఇంతమంది ఉన్నారు, ఏమున్నాయి, ఎన్ని టాయిలెట్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ఇట్లాంటి I think we need to correct them. That physical we can do. So I think it's more about educating. That's what I think. And they keep talking about it like ఎంత మాట్లాడితే ఎంత అబ్బాయిలు ఎక్కువ మాట్లాడాలి యాక్చువల్లీ. ఇట్స్ ఓనస్ ఆన్ us actually. So we keep telling, we keep understanding like how I realized and how I thought my growth was been like first ఆనంద్ డేస్ అలా లేదు నా సెట్. ఇప్పుడు I insist, I at least try. అది కూడా మై ఫెలో ఉమెన్, ఐ మీన్ టెక్నీషియన్స్ అండ్ ఆల్ దే క్వశ్చన్ మీ, ఇంకేంటి ఇది చేయాలి, ఇది తప్పు అది తప్పు అని. ఐ లెట్ దెమ్ క్వశ్చన్, అండ్ దెన్ దట్ ఫియర్ ఐ డోంట్ గివ్ దట్ లైక్ మెన్ జనరలీ డూ. ఇప్పుడు యాజ్ అ డైరెక్టర్ ఆర్ యాజ్ అ సుపీరియర్ ఆర్ ఒక ఫియర్ జనరేట్ చేసి అమ్మాయిలు కొంచెం మరే నేను చెప్పలేను అన్నది కాకుండా, నేను ఐ థింక్ అరే ఐఎమ్ లైక్ at being modest, whatever, just being casual about it and very light-hearted about it, and then environment, set that environment in my set that they can talk anything, they can question anything, even in content also. I mean script lo kuda edana wrong unte I let my woman or whatever, girl or whatever, they speak, they let them speak and question basically. So alanti environment create cheyadamlo I think men, superiors, officers should actually make the major role. Campaign I think మనం కూడా కాలేజెస్కి వెళ్తే బెటర్ అని, చాలా ఎంత వెళ్తే అంత అఫీషియల్స్ ఆర్ వాట్ ఎవర్ షీ టీమ్స్ ఆ విసినిటీలో ఉన్న కాలేజెస్ కానీ విసినిటీలో ఉన్న ఆఫీసెస్ కానీ వెళ్ళి keep talking about this. I think this that's the
Charagaru, is that your experience also? I mean beginning these conversations, then they realize, oh, this was probably not right. I mean like he mentioned his friend, he may not have consciously, he did it in a spur of the moment, okay, whatever happened, but not talking about it. For women, is that also something that we are creating our own toxic spaces without saying that this is not something that I'll be comfortable about? Or men also need to begin to be participating in these conversations?
So I think women have started normalizing these behaviors, and nobody has had conversations with men about this is not the right way. So the purpose of this campaign is the same thing. In fact, I just like to share with you, we are in the police, but we also have faced these kind of situations. where in my first posting I remember, while in PG I was considered a well dressed lady, but when I joined the police department, konni first within 1 year lo my shirts started becoming thicker and thicker, because every time I would take meetings in bandobast and address 500 men or 600 men, I would start feeling uncomfortable, because I know they were not listening to me. They were just staring at me top to bottom. They would be fantasizing or whatever it is, those kind of things. But that made me feel so uncomfortable that I started just wearing very baggy kind of shirts and very baggy kind of trousers. And I remember my mother telling me, "What's wrong with you? Bilkul jhalli ho gayi hai." Jhalli is the word used in Hindi for all this. And that continued for many years. And after that, at one point of time, I remember I had put on some weight. There was a lot of stress. There was the sleep patterns were disturbed. The eating timings were disturbed. I put on weight. So one senior officer says, "Bhai, you've put on weight at the wrong places." So he could have put it in a better way. He could have put it in a better way, but he says that to me. And then because I chose to be single, so there's one senior officer who says that, "But how are you going to live your life alone? You need a man." But he meant it in a very lecherous way, because he was being lecherous. So how does one navigate through this? It doesn't matter which position you're in. It doesn't matter where you are. Most of the girls face these situations and learn to navigate through it. And as all of you know, initially jargite manaki asal ardham kaadu ela react cheyali, manaki ardham kaadu. He's a senior officer. Should I shout back at him? Should I be rude to him? Should I be curt with him? How should I react? So you learn, as you said, you learn to avoid. And you learn to navigate your way through these kind of men and spaces.
You're restricting your own life that way.
You're restricting your life, your freedom of expression also. Then you start editing yourself. That నేను ఇది మాట్లాడుకోకూడదు, ఇది నేను చేయకూడదు, అటు వెళ్ళకూడదు. I should spend only 5 minutes with him, not more than that, because after some time I start feeling uncomfortable. So వదిలేసేయండి, let me just avoid him. So this is how women start navigating, and these are the conversations we wanted to spark with Stand With Her program. And it's not male bashing. Intention is not to say that men are all bad and men do this and men are the only perpetrators, etc., etc. Many women also do not know how to express themselves appropriately. The idea is to just create awareness about everyday sexism and about everyday inappropriate behaviors.
In fact,
If I can
Yeah,
just add
please.
to that, I'm so sorry. Just a perspective. I think the one thing we need to address really is that difference in perspective, because from the time we are born and how we are raised, a man is always taught to feel proud of himself if he is desirable and if he is sexually active. A woman is thought to be ashamed of it. And it stems from there. It's so deeply ingrained from a very, very young age. Because of that, what happens is that every time a man behaves a certain way, like passing a comment or staring at someone, the problem is that for a lot of men who are reasonably decent human beings, who are not psychopathic or sociopathic, for a lot of the men, the problem comes from, for example, if a woman were to come and tell me that, say, the same thing, your lips are very kissable, or I find you attractive, or say, I don't know, or if she was even touching me in a certain way. Like, for example, I remember going to a college where, there were girls, this was around the release time of my first film, where there were girls trying to grab onto my hand and scratching me, and there were people trying to grab hold of my shirt and all that. I didn't once feel threatened. I didn't once feel scared, right? Because as a man, there is no way you're anything but flattered or feel good about yourself when you get female attention. Why? Because from a very young age, we are taught to feel proud about it, right? That's not the same with women. That conditioning is very different for them. And a lot of men don't understand that. When they say extremely inappropriate, uncomfortable things like that, or when they are behaving in a certain way, like, for example, for a lot of people, like, if a girl was to touch me the way I touch her in a bus, I'd feel happy. So why would she feel anything else? So she'll also probably feel happy and realize I like her, and she'll get turned on. For some of them, for I think about 70% of men that behave this way, this is what they're thinking. So they don't realize the kind of psychological trauma they're causing.
Yeah.
If for a lot of these men, if these women sat down and made them explain what you're doing to me, I'm not responding the way you're responding in your head. Instead, it makes me scared to wake up in the morning and catch that bus again. But my livelihood, my survival depends on it. Do you realize how horrible you're making my world and my day? If they could actually sit down and tell them, I'm not feeling the way you think I'm feeling very different. Every time I look at a man, I'm scared now.
Maybe that is what this conversation is about. I mean, we are not picking individuals, but we are saying that you cannot exceed a particular line, a particular physical space. When someone gives you a compliment, you actually, we all dress to be visible and to be looking smart or good or whatever. But very often I remember we dress to be invisible. Like Charu said,
Exactly.
you want to wear baggy pants so that people are not noticing you for being a woman, but for other reasons. You may miss out. Us in professional spaces, I've seen now people are more accepting of women being there. I mean, there'll be these social get-togethers or places where you connect with people. You kind of building networks, let's call it that way. Building networks, but women were not welcome there because there'll all be men, and you're that one sole woman which they don't know what to do with you, and they are that physical space. They don't know that you can create a physical space for a woman that is also safe, because in the police force they were in less numbers. Any force, not just police force. I mean, administrative IAS officers, it's less. Women journalists, it is less in those spaces, and you do not go to those informal get-togethers because you're uncomfortable in those spaces. Those must be something that you must have encountered, especially in business journalism, again, dominated by men and thought of as a space for men. I remember one faction leader told me, we are not that dangerous, it's okay, you can come and meet me.
I'm glad you raised that point, Uma, because when we started off, I started as a business journalist here in Hyderabad. And that was an era of big IPOs which was happening. And the room filled with men. We were just two women, one from TOI and one from Business Line. It was like that kind of situation. And boys' club, a typical kind of jokes would happen among the boys. And then you would say, hello, we are also there. A lady is also there. Who is the lady? I say, I am a lady. I am a woman. I'm not a man. I'm not part of your club. So please, mind what. But one more point I want to clarify here, like we are talking about how men look at women and what is the woman's space, right? We're trying to sensitize people as to this is what you're supposed to do. And why should a woman restrict herself? Having said so, I'm part of the POSH committee also. I've been involved quite actively. When Nirbhaya happened, unfortunately, we were in the thick of things when the policy was being worked out and why we need it. Why did Nirbhaya happen? So as he pointed out, he also agreed we need to educate, but education starts at home. And who's educating the boy? It's a woman. It's the mother who is telling the boy, oh, you're better, you can do this, your sister cannot. It starts there. The basic thing starts there. That's why I said education. So it brings it to the work environment also. When we are working, as you pointed out, we were doing that cut and paste. When we started our journalistic, we didn't have paginations. So we will be standing with the people and making the pages, bromide and cut, and they would be not supposedly educated men there. But my experience has been very different. I found them more dignified than those educated elite college school students.
Because culturally they are also taught to respect women, isn't it? I'm not saying these are not or those are. There are
no. Why I'm saying that? Because they come with a sense of entitlement. Who is giving you that entitlement? Hello, I want to know. ఇక్కడ నుండి మీరు వస్తారు, same college. I've also got same grades as you. I've performed better than you. A woman in your professional career or her professional career, we work 20 times more than a man. We are proving ourselves every day. You get a news break. Let's talk of our profession. You get a news break. You come, you give a news flash. Your first bite, fastest finger first. As a TV journalist, you're competing with the world, fastest finger first. How many times you're acknowledged for your news break? That's also a professional space respect which a woman desires. It's just not about the sexual connotation or the look and other things, but the respect for women. Now, why I have objections also for the seats in the buses which says only women. Why can't a woman sit wherever she wants to? Why she needs to sit only in that seat? And
It's
there are
not meant to be that way, but that's what they make
That
it out to
is-
be. It's meant to be that these are reserved, the rest are open.
Yes.
But even in a press club
There is-
election, they will restrict you to those women.
Exactly.
seats.
Why? Why can't I sit anywhere else where I'm comfortable?
Yeah.
And in those seats also, you'll have one man sitting.
And you have to ask him to get up.
Some in the pretext, oh, I am an old man. Or I have this problem. Why is it happening? I know these are the whys which we need to answer. And, whether they agree or not, they're coming from the film fraternity. But films influence a lot. Many of the young boys and girls believe what the cinema is showing. And then they believe if your hero can do that, so can I.
That is why we have Rahul and Shekhar, who are both people who have been very sensitive to these situations, these kind of environments where the toxicity can grow, and therefore be conscious of what you are
Absolutely,
going to be doing. I mean, I in fact will point to his women who speak up there, and the man very often is able to be supportive. I mean, that's the role, isn't it? When you're talking about being a hero, doesn't mean beat up 10 people. You're saying do what the right thing is, stand up, even if you're a
And
lean
the
guy.
supportive man is not weak. Please let us know. He's supportive because he has a lot of self-confidence and self-strength. He is comfortable in his skin, so he's doing. Ante adi message povali that a man who is standing by his woman, he's not weak. He's much stronger than the man or the hooligan who's on the street and behaving like that. That is one thing which has to go, and I wish it goes from this platform.
I think, man or woman, everybody, you want to be the lead character in your life story, but you don't have to be the lead character in your wife's life. You don't have to, you can let her be the lead
Absolutely.
character in her
Absolutely.
life. So, or your mothers or your sisters, or for that matter. So, yeah. I think that syndrome of, I need to have lead character energy wherever I go. No, everybody wants that. So, let them be the lead in their life story. So, yeah, I think. And it takes a sense of security to understand that. And it takes a little bit of sensitiveness to understand that, and hopefully we can all develop that.
One is allowing people to lead their lives, but when we are talking about physical spaces, and where Charuji mentioned about the comment that you pass on somebody else, what do you do as a bystander? What would you tell? Like you said, you remembered that with the daughter trauma that you were not able to react at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
What would you say to men who do see this happening? Sometimes you know that one of your friends
I have
is
reacted
always saying toxic things about women, or commenting that ये तो इसके लिए तो ये अच्छा है वो है. I mean, they have the freedom to say that. What would you say to youngsters? What they should be doing in these kind of situations? You both.
See, it's easy to react when it's a stranger, right?
Yeah.
When it's people you know, when it's people you spend every day with, and they're saying something you're really not comfortable with, then it becomes even more difficult. Like, arey yaar, I say something, they will get offended, and then it starts affecting the entire dynamic of that relationship. And if it's somebody you're working with, for example, it's just, I think, pull people aside, rather than, most people usually, rather than make a public spectacle out of it, because I'm not trying to be a hero there, right? I don't care about being a hero there. For me, it is about, hey, you're doing something and it's not right, and hopefully I can make that person think. So if you can pull that person aside, go have a one-on-one chat and say, you said that right. Do you realize how it traumatizes the woman hearing that? Or if you're doing something to her, then,
అంటే మీ ఫ్రెండ్ కి మీరు అట్లా చెప్పొచ్చు అంటున్నారు ఒక కాన్వర్సేషన్ లో ఆయనని పబ్లిక్ గా ఎంబారస్ చేయకపోయినా మీరు ఆయనని పిలిచి చెప్పండి అంటారు.
Because that is when it becomes an ego trip. So it becomes a fight. Then they'll want to prove that they are right. Rather, I've always found that if you just take someone aside, first it tells them he's not trying to be a hero. He's not trying to one-upman me, right? He cares about me, and therefore he's taking me aside and saying something. So if you can just take someone aside and say, hey, you said this, so you did this. Do you realize how the other person is affected by it? Often you'll realize that there's a certain diffusion that happens. You're like, oh, okay, maybe he has a point. Because he immediately realizes he doesn't care about scoring a brownie point, or he's not trying to do hero-giri here. He cares about me. That's why he's pulled me aside. So maybe that. But there's no one size fits all, right? Different situations demand different kinds of reactions. So, I don't know. Maybe sir will have a better idea.
In the production
Yeah,
units
production we
particularly,
actually,
yeah.
if I observe certain things that, and if I can't say it right now, sometimes I'm thinking that I'm in a position that I can do. I mean, I think of my Anand days where I didn't have that atla ledu annappudu koncham difficult. We're worried about making a film, saving money, and some people are important in the set that we, even if they misbehave, we have to get along with them kinds. Adi probably the best way is like either pulling aside and telling. Pulling aside అట్లా చేసేవాడికి పుల్లింగ్ అసైడ్ చేసిన వాడు మారడా 99.
చాలా కాన్షియస్ ఉంటాడు కదా నెక్స్ట్ టైం ఇట్లా చేయొద్దు
చాలా
అన్నట్టు.
అంటే చాలా మెచ్యూరిటీ ఉంటేనే నీ తప్పు వింటాడు అది. సో నేను జనరలీ యాజ్ అ యూనిట్ లైక్ ఐఎమ్ బీయింగ్ అ క్యాప్టెన్ ఆఫ్ షిప్, ఆర్ ఐ మీన్ బీయింగ్ ఐ కెన్ కాల్ ద షార్ట్స్ అన్నప్పుడు ఐ మేక్ ఇట్ అ రూల్ కైండ్స్ లైక్, అంటే డోంట్ this cannot
Protocol
happen type
set cheyadam.
overall చెప్తే. And like when I go to college and all, I'm saying that I'm just praying that this guy is a hero, let's celebrate that guy who talks. So అలాంటి చెప్తా ఉంటే ఇంకా that's the only way actually, and not if we cannot get personal or if we cannot. So like I mean set certain rules that it's not personally attacking somebody, but these are the rules, like, and set a culture basically. And my unit lo, I mean I'm trying hard to do that. చాలా కష్టం యాక్చువల్ ఫిల్మ్ ఇండస్ట్రీలో, a lot of egos exist and all, but we're trying to, at least women aspect లో చాలా I came a long way actually from where we started.
మీ దగ్గర విమెన్ వచ్చి చెప్తారా ఇట్లాంటి విషయాలు? అంటే ఎందుకంటే విమెన్ కూడా
చెప్తారు.
ఎందుకు వెనకాడతారంటే, ఇట్లా నేను
చెప్తారు.
కంప్లైంట్ చేస్తూ ఉంటే ఆయన గురించి ఇది చెప్పారు అంటే ఈమె ట్రబుల్ మేకర్ అని ఒక లేబుల్ పెట్టేస్తారు.
Yes.
అది జనరలీ మెన్ ఈమెను తీసుకోవద్దు అసలు, ఈమె ఉంటే ఏదో చెప్తూనే ఉంటుంది అన్నట్టు. అట్లాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్ కూడా, అంటే విమెన్ ని హౌ డు వి ఎంకరేజ్ దెమ్ టు టాక్
we need to
అబౌట్
create that
వితౌట్ బీయింగ్
create the environment actually. We create, it's difficult, not so simple, and that's what I'm saying. Now I mean when you're in a position to call the shots, you can definitely do it basically.
Yes.
So like this is a set అని చాలా టైమ్స్ అది కూడా రాదు. అంటే వెన్ యూర్ గ్రేట్, అంటే ఈవెన్ ఫర్ డైరెక్టర్స్, యంగ్స్టర్స్, ఫస్ట్ టైం డైరెక్టర్స్ అంతా ప్రొడ్యూసర్ వాడికి ఉన్నా కానీ వాడు చేయలేడు. ప్రొడ్యూసర్ నువ్వు తీసుకోవాలి సినిమా అంటారు విజయ్. సో at that point you can probably, like I said, the two ways, either physically stop something, or at least voice out, or at least థింక్, అంటే అట్లీస్ట్ మైండ్లో పెట్టుకుని రేపు పొద్దున నేను చేయను, రేపు పొద్దున నేను ఎవరికైనా చెప్తాను అన్నదే మనం ఈ మూడు విధాలు చేయగలుగుతాం బేసిక్గా. సో ఈ సెట్స్లో నేను ఐఎమ్ ట్రైంగ్ టు పుట్ దోస్ సెన్సిటైజ్. కానీ ఫిల్మ్ ఇండస్ట్రీలో ఐ థింక్ వీ క్యాన్ యాక్చువల్లీ, ఉమెన్ దే కెన్, ఐ మీన్ దిస్ ఇస్ ఐ డోంట్ థింక్ మా ఇండస్ట్రీ విల్ లైక్ ఇట్, బట్ దిస్ ఇస్ అ గుడ్ థింగ్ దట్ యూ కెన్ అకేషనలీ విజిట్. అంటే షీ టీమ్లో ఏమవుతుంది అంటే అంటే just to take a
take stock, get an idea of what's
happening అని it's a good, I think suddenly it occurred to me right now. చూడొచ్చు, అంటే it's not a క్లోజ్ థింగ్. ఇక్కడ డాన్ మాఫియాలో ఏం జరగట్లేదు, షూటింగ్ జరుగుతుంది కానీ చాలా అన్నోటీస్కి వెళ్తుంటాయి, ఎవడికి చెప్పలేడు. లైక్ దిస్ అకర్స్. She teams can just go visit and said what's any adhering to.
We'd definitely like to have an interaction with the
with
extras, with the dancers, with
direct health threat feel అవుతే మీరు మాట్లాడచ్చు కూడా ప్రొడ్యూసర్ తోటి. అంటే మీకు షూటింగ్ డైలీ ఒక 20 days అవుతున్నాయి కదా, అసలు ఎట్లా చేస్తారు మీరు, మేము ఎప్పుడైనా వచ్చి చూడొచ్చు అది. కానీ దట్స్ అ హెల్దీ వే ఆఫ్ యాక్చువల్లీ అంటే కరెక్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు, ఇంట్రూజివ్గా కాకుండా కొంచెం వాళ్ళు నర్వస్ ఫీల్ కాకుండా చేయొచ్చు అనుకుంటాను యాక్చువల్లీ, బికాజ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ద పవర్ బేస్. అంటే వాళ్ళకి ఉండాలి అని మనం మాట్లాడుకుంటున్నప్పుడు వాళ్ళకి లేకపోతే ఐ మీన్ అంటే ఇఫ్ దట్స్ అప్పుడప్పుడు ఒక చిన్న.
Rahul, you actually have an experience of women standing up for themselves and getting targeted for it. What can society do to actually support? I may not be the one who's standing up, but I can do something to help somebody who's standing up, isn't it?
Yeah, just hear them out. That's the first thing. It's, I think, basic human decency, basic courtesy is to hear someone out and let your first reaction not be, you're lying, or how do we know, why should we believe you. You can just hear them out. Nobody's even saying believe them, but you don't have to go scream at their face saying I don't believe you, or why should I believe you. Just hear people out. No, there's somebody's coming in this country. If you think it is easy for a woman to come and tell people about her experience, and she's doing it for the fun of it, or for attention, then you don't know women at all. the amount of sacrifices they have to make to come out and tell their story, it makes their life infinitely more miserable.
Yeah.
And nobody will do it for the fun of it or for attention. It's just not worth it, right? Sure, there might be the odd case here and there, which I find very weird. A lot of people seem to have so much sympathy for the one or two false accusations, for example, and they don't seem to have the same level of sympathy and understanding and empathy for the 1 lakh other cases that are genuine. I never see them outraging about the 1 lakh cases that are genuine. But anyway, it's weird. I mean, I've had experiences. For example, once on a set, there was a heroine once who was a brand new producer. It was a very small film that I was doing as a lead actor. And this heroine one day came to me and said, every time she goes to the caravan, it was a new producer, and his son would keep coming inside that caravan, and she was very uncomfortable with it, and he was constantly apparently propositioning to her in indirect ways. She came and told me this. I said, do one thing. Now that guy's the producer. Now I can say, you know what, I don't give a damn and walk out of this film and I can shut the film. But there's this director who's making his first film. His entire life depends on it. Sweet guy. He's done nothing wrong. So I don't want to go take on the producer's son and put his career at jeopardy. What we'll do is I called the director and I told him there's a problem like this that's happening. And I told her, do one thing. Don't go to your caravan at all. I'll stop going to my caravan in between scenes. Even if there's a long break, I will sit outside on the set. I'll make sure I don't go to my caravan. You sit right next to me. And if I have to go change my costume or something like that, I'll make sure the director's sitting right next to you when I go, and I'll come rushing back. And that producer's son is not going to mess with you when either one of us is sitting next to you, because he wasn't man enough to come and do, this openly. So little, I mean, in each situation, you try and find a solution and you find your own ways.
We in fact want to say, be a man, stand up for the woman.
Yeah. So the next 35 days of shoot or whatever we had remaining, the director, me, nobody would go anywhere. We just keep sitting on the set and made sure the girl was sitting next to us. And then after a point, we started entertaining her and she was entertaining us. We actually had a good time. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten to get to know her that well if we had just kept going back to our caravans like we usually do between scenes and all that. So just find, like Sir said, sometimes one, you have to lead by example so that you create a culture. When you are the director on a set or you're the top dog or the biggest name on a set, then sometimes just behaving a certain way is enough, because they realize, oh, he's this way, I'm not going to get away with not being that way. So you set a culture. Sometimes if you're not the top dog on a set, then you find different solutions for it. But the one thing we all need to do as men is make it comfortable for women to come and open up to you. It's shocking how sometimes fathers and brothers don't make it comfortable for their own family women to come and open up to them. First, let them open up to you. Why is your mental, like if someone, any other crime, right?
I find it surprising that daughters can't talk about their periods to the men or tell them that
let alone something. So I think just make an environment that's more comfortable for them to open up, and hopefully all these things will help. Talk to each other. Just talk to each other.
The safe spaces become very important actually, because many women are unable to talk about this in their own families, and we still have some way to go in creating these safe spaces, particularly at workplace, where they can actually, if they are uncomfortable, they walk up to a colleague or a boss and say that, sir, I'm uncomfortable with this and this is how he's behaving, without being judged. That अरे ये हंगामा कर रही है, या फिर अरे she's problematic, या अरे इसको दूर रखो यहाँ से, things like that. These safe spaces become
very often women become co-supporters to each other, and they realize that a particular behavior you don't like, and therefore you kind of say that, okay, we know this man is like this, and therefore you provide an insurance policy kind of a thing.
In fact, we didn't know about all this when we were younger, because you learn to navigate with the years, with the experiences. So now we have stronger groups within the services also, whether it's batchmates or whether it is older colleagues or younger colleagues and all. We have stronger bondages now, which help us navigate through all this.
And the fact that you can articulate and there is nothing wrong, or in fact you should.
Yes.
Please.
It's just thought. It'll probably some kind of I don't know if you already have these teams who are kind of officing some girl who's facing this. If she can't directly confront her boss or something, maybe she can call something and say, you as a team, not address that particular problem, but go to the office and make a presentation or something that this is a do's don'ts kind of. Then maybe it's అంటే next that's
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
level.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
better and it's a collective thing.
Yeah.
It maybe-
అంటే యాక్చువల్లీ
may-
పాష్
could-
కమిటీ is meant to help you do
Yeah.
that. All organizations have,
Correct.
we
No,
also
I
have
don't know
posh
the exact
committees.
word, but I think it just occurred to me like
Yeah.
అంటే how you directly not
You don't have to confront.
confront ఆమె name private కొంచెం
Privacy issues will be
privacy
there.
issues bit
Posh
కానీ
committee,
మొత్తం,
yeah.
yeah.
It handles posh issues.
Yeah,
of,
certain issues.
But not everyday sexism.
So, if I may just interject there, that as they pointed out, now women are also in the position of authority in many organizations, like we are HODs and others. So, there was a small incident that happened, this puja which we have. So, there was a Ganesh Chaturthi puja happening, and one of the girls were happily dressed, festive thing, so she wanted to dress like that. And a very senior colleague made a wisecrack. I would like to use a polite word. I don't want to use any unparliamentary language here. So he made a wisecrack at that girl, assessed her, and then made a comment. And this girl just didn't know where to go. And then finally she came to me. Says, "Ma'am, assessor." I said, "Have you written it? Have you given it in writing as yet?" So I went to my boss. Her boss happened to be a man, and he was not aware that where is the posh committee and who's leading it. I said, he doesn't know that we are here, we are the members. I said, "You're right." Meanwhile, I went and I spoke to this gentleman who had made this comment. He said, "Oh, mujhe to utna strike hi nahi kiya." I said, "Now you have to be very mindful." And I had to tell him that don't forget your father of a daughter. Tomorrow something like this, if it happens with your daughter, how will you react? And because I went and I spoke, and it did have an impact. Because they thought normally what happens, complaints go and then we internally do it. But I ensured that I'm going to each of the HODs in the place and who are men and telling them that if this happens, we are going to do this. So I think even women have to be, as open about discussing with their women colleagues. Sometimes men colleagues come. They also face challenges. It's not only women who are facing. I've had cases where men colleagues also have faced challenges. So, we have to be
Very often, as part of POSH, actually,
Yes.
training is conducted for all employees. Mandatory
It
thing in
happened
most,
because
all
of
organizations.
Nirbhaya, but then there are two aspects. One is this POSH thing. Then there is passive aggression which happens in office space. That's a even bigger challenge now because that's leading to mental issues.
A lot of anxiety amongst women. You find
because passive
tremendous
aggression
anxiety.
doesn't happen openly.
Yeah.
The way they're assessing you, the way they do certain things, and that leads to mental harassment.
Yeah.
Now those kind of cases are coming up more.
Yeah.
I think the very, very important cultural adjustment we need to make is take the guilt away. Every other, like for example, somebody is a chain snatcher or somebody is a burglar, the victim is never made to feel shame. We don't go like, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? We never say, right? So take that guilt away from a woman who's been subjected to a crime like this. That's extremely important. I think the one thing that happened at the Me Too movement, I don't know if men have learned to behave themselves better. I don't know if men are more scared. I don't know what it is. I don't know how much it's changed the world. The one thing I know that has changed is that more women found their voices to speak up. Take that guilt away. That damn guilt has created an environment for centuries now where women don't even want to come out and say that something happened to them. I think that needs to be very violently snatched away from this whole equation. If you're a man and if your pocket has been picked, you are not made to feel shame for it. You are not made to feel guilty for it. This is a crime, and the victim must never feel shame. It is the perpetrator that must feel shame. That
the women have been silenced by and large. They've been silenced.
I know it's
They've been
difficult.
made to shut up.
Yeah, I know it's difficult, but take that shame away. I keep telling my wife, you don't realize it now, but 50, 60 years later, you'll be remembered a hero because you and so many other women have taught these girls that it's okay to speak up. In fact, you must. And justice will never be done if you don't speak up. I think that is the biggest change that happened. I don't know if we men have learned to behave better, nothing, all that I don't know, but this I know.
You're true. Otherwise, people, we also women tend to internalize that thing, thinking that मैंने कुछ किया होगा जिसकी वजह से उसने मुझे ही टारगेट किया.
Take
कि I
that
must
shame
be
away.
very good.
Absolutely.
The self-doubt.
Take that shame away.
The self-doubt.
Like, my wife would keep getting so many DMs where these were women who still hadn't found it in them to speak up necessarily, but they at least realized, because you spoke up, I realized I'm not the only one. And I realized I have done nothing wrong, because I constantly feel horrible about myself. My personality changed. I became more introverted, became more silent in life. You spoke up and it made me realize it's okay. It's not my fault. That needs to be snatched away from this whole scenario. That a victim should feel any shame or guilt whatsoever. So, yeah.
Last word to you, everyday sexism is what we are talking about. అంటే మీరు డైలీ జీవితంలో ఎట్లా బిహేవ్ చేస్తే బాగుంటుంది, మీతో పాటు ఉన్న మహిళలను సేఫ్గా ఫీల్ చేయించడము, వాళ్ళు కూడా పార్టిసిపేట్ చేయడం, అది ఏం మెసేజ్ ఇవ్వాలి అని మనము అనుకుంటున్నామో అది మీరు వైండప్ చేసి.
So I think the only message which is relevant here is asking the men that please stand with her. ఎక్కడ మీరు ఇన్అప్రోప్రియేట్ బిహేవియర్ మీ ముందు జరుగుతుందంటే జస్ట్ స్పీకప్, జస్ట్ సే సైలెంట్లీ, కొంచెం పక్కనే జరుగు, ఆర్ షీఈ్ అన్కంఫర్టబుల్, ఇలా మనం మాట్లాడుకోకూడదు. జస్ట్ లిటిల్ మోర్ అవేర్నెస్ విల్ గో అ లాంగ్ వే ఇన్ క్రియేటింగ్ సేఫర్ స్పేసెస్ ఫర్ విమెన్.
అంటే అబ్బాయిలు కావచ్చు లేకపోతే పురుషులు కావచ్చు, గ్రోన్ అప్, యంగ్, వాట్ ఎవర్ ఏజ్ గ్రూప్, స్టాండ్ విత్ విమెన్, నోటీస్ వాట్ ఈస్ హ్యాపెనింగ్. వాళ్ళకు కొంచెం డిస్కంఫర్ట్ ఉంటే మీరు కూడా దానిలో ఎందుకు తను డిస్కంఫర్ట్ ఫీల్ అవుతున్నారు అని ఆలోచించి, ఇక్కడ ఫిజికల్ స్పేస్ లేదా, లేకపోతే ఏదో ఒక కామెంటరీ బాగా లేదా, లేకపోతే ఎవరో చూపు బాగా లేదా, దానిలో మీరు కాన్షియస్ అయ్యి దానికి యాక్షన్స్ తీసుకుంటే మీరు కూడా కాంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేసినట్టే ఉంటుంది విమెన్ సేఫ్టీకి, విమెన్ ఇంకా సేఫ్గా ఫీల్ చేయించడానికి, అండ్ మేకింగ్ అవర్ వరల్డ్ అ బెటర్ ప్లేస్ టు లివ్ ఇన్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ ఫర్ వాచింగ్.